There is a version of the world that most people never see, not because it's hidden, but because they're asleep when it happens. Between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., something shifts. The streets empty, the noise dies, and the people who work through those hours, the nurses, the guards, the factory workers, they will tell you. Something changes in a building at 3 a.m. The air feels different. The silence sounds different. And sometimes, the things you see at 3 a.m. cannot be explained by the time the sun comes up. Sleep researchers call it the dead zone, the window between 2 and 4 a.m. when the human brain is at its absolute lowest point of alertness, when the line between what is real and what the exhausted mind creates becomes dangerously thin. But the people in these stories weren't dreaming. They were wide awake. They were on the clock, and what they experienced followed them home. These are real accounts submitted by real night shift workers, and after you hear them, you may be very grateful that you were asleep when it happened. I have been a registered nurse for 14 years. I have worked night shift for 11 of them. I have seen people take their last breath. I have held hands in the dark. I am not someone who frightens easily. I need you to know that before I tell you this. Our floor had 12 rooms. On the night this happened, we had 9 patients, rooms 1 through 9. Rooms 10, 11, and 12 were empty, cleaned, stripped, beds made with fresh linen. Nobody in them. At 3:10 a.m., I was doing my rounds, walking the hallway, checking vitals. The floor was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels earned after a long shift. I walked past room 11, and I stopped. The call light above the door was on, amber, steady. The call light that only activates when a patient presses the button on their bed. Room 11 had no patient. Room 11 had no bed button plugged in. The room had been stripped. I stood in that hallway for a long moment, looking at that amber light. Then I opened the door. The room was dark. The bed was empty and made. The monitoring equipment was unplugged and pushed against the wall. Everything exactly as housekeeping had left it. Except the pillow. The pillow had an indentation in it, fresh, the shape of a human head, pressed into a pillow that had been clean and flat when I walked past this room an hour before. I called my charge nurse. She came. She saw the pillow. She reset the call light panel at the nursing station. 20 minutes later, the light above room 11 came on again. We checked the panel, every wire, every connection. The maintenance team came in at 6 a.m. and tore apart that entire call system. They found nothing wrong. My charge nurse, a woman with 26 years on the floor, pulled me aside before the morning shift arrived. She said, "Room 11 does this, has done it for years. We don't talk about it with new staff. We just check the room, and then we move on." I asked her why. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because whatever is in that room, it's never hurt anybody. And some patients on this floor, the ones who are close to the end, they ask to be moved to room 11. They say it feels less lonely in there." I have thought about that almost every shift since. Who or what is in room 11? And who are they waiting for?
I worked the 3rd shift at Harlow Textile Mill for 9 years, midnight to 8 a.m.
I worked the 3rd shift at Harlow Textile Mill for 9 years, midnight to 8 a.m. Just me and 2 other guys, Ray and a kid we called Soup. 3 men in a building the size of 2 football fields. Machines running, lights harsh, the smell of oil and hot metal in everything. The mill had been running since 1911. You felt that age in the walls, in the floors, in the way the building settled and groaned at night like something old trying to get comfortable. The stories had always been there. A foreman who died in the machinery in 1957, a fire in 1973 that killed 2 workers on the overnight shift. Buildings like that collect their dead. We knew the history. We laughed about it, the way you do when something makes you nervous and you don't want to admit it. It started with the machine at Station 7. Station 7 was at the far end of the floor, a loom, old but functional. It ran on a timer, automated, started at 1 a.m., stopped at 5 a.m., every night, like clockwork. One Tuesday in November, Station 7 started running at 3:17 a.m., in the middle of its automated off cycle. I walked over to check it, standard procedure, but when I got close enough, I stopped. The machine was running, but it wasn't producing anything. No thread feeding through, no material on the spool. Just the loom running, moving through the motions, as if someone was operating it who forgot to load the material first. And the foot pedal, the manual foot pedal at the base of the machine, was pressing down and releasing, in a slow, deliberate rhythm, with nobody standing at it. I stood 8 feet away and watched that pedal move up and down for almost 40 seconds. I counted, because counting was the only thing keeping me from running. I called Ray over. He watched it for 10 seconds. Then he turned around and walked back to his station without saying a single word. I asked him about it the next day. He said, "Dennis, I've worked here longer than you. Some nights, Station 7 runs itself. Has for years. Maintenance is checked it 100 times. Nothing wrong with the machine. So we just let it run. Whoever's on it, they just want to finish their shift." I worked at that mill for 3 more years after that night. Station 7 ran itself 6 more times that I witnessed, always between 3 and 4 a.m., always with the same slow rhythm on the foot pedal, always with no material loaded. I never found out whose shift it was, but I'll tell you this, they never missed a night. I worked overnight security at the Brennan Building on the south side of Chicago. 12 floors, law offices, accounting firms, a medical suite on the 9th floor. Empty by 7 p.m. every night. Or it was supposed to be. My job was simple. Sit at the front desk, do rounds every 2 hours, walk every floor, check every door, log it, then go back downstairs. I had been doing it for 2 years without incident. I was good at the quiet. Some guys hate it. I liked it. Just me and 12 floors of empty offices. The city outside the windows, the low hum of the HVAC system. The 6th floor is where it started. During my 2 a.m. rounds on a Wednesday in February, I stepped off the elevator on 6 and immediately smelled coffee. Fresh coffee. Not stale, not old. Hot, fresh, recently brewed coffee in an office that had been empty for 7 hours. I checked every suite on that floor, every door locked, no lights on, no coffee machine running. But the smell followed me down the entire hallway. I logged it as an anomaly and moved on. The next Wednesday, same time, 2 a.m., I stepped off the elevator on 6. Coffee smell again, stronger this time. And that's when I heard it. The sound of fingers on a keyboard coming from behind the 3rd door on the left, Suite 604, a small accounting firm. Locked, dark underneath the door, but the typing was steady, rhythmic, purposeful. Someone in there working. I put my hand on my radio, knocked on the door, said, "Building security, is someone in there?" The typing stopped. Immediately, mid-keystroke, like someone had frozen. Silence. Waited 30 seconds, used my master key, opened the door, turned on the lights. Empty. Every desk clear, every computer monitor dark and off, cold to the touch, not recently running. The room was ice cold. No coffee maker anywhere on that floor. I searched every inch of that suite, every closet, every bathroom. Nothing. I pulled the building's access logs when I got back downstairs. The logs showed every keycard entry and exit for the entire building. The last person to enter Suite 604 had left at 6:47 p.m. Nobody had entered since. Nobody. I called my supervisor. He listened. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Victor, let me ask you something. Did it smell like black coffee or coffee with cream?" The question hit me strangely. I said, "Black, definitely black." He said, "Yeah, that's Gerald. He was a senior accountant in 604. Worked that building for 31 years. Always the last one in the office. Always drank his coffee black. He died at his desk in 2019. Cardiac arrest. 2:15 in the morning. Overtime. We think he just never really clocked out." I quit 3 weeks later. Not because I was afraid of Gerald. He never felt threatening, never felt malicious. I quit because of what my supervisor said next, almost casually, like it was nothing. He said, "Oh, and Victor, the 9th floor medical suite. Don't do your rounds up there after 3 a.m. Gerald is one thing. The 9th floor is something else entirely." Never told me what was on the 9th floor, and I never went up there to find out. A hospital room that calls for patients who aren't there. A machine that runs a shift for a man who died in 1957, an accountant who never clocked out. 3 different buildings, 3 different cities, 3 people doing nothing more than their jobs. There is a theory in psychology called residual haunting. The idea that intense human emotion, dedication, routine, the will to finish what you started, can imprint itself on a place, like a recording, playing back at the same time, in the same space, long after the person is gone. Not a ghost trying to scare you, not a spirit with unfinished business, just a person who worked so hard for so long that even death couldn't break the habit. The nurse who pressed the call button, the mill worker who just wanted to finish the run, the accountant who stayed late one too many times. They weren't trying to haunt anyone. They were just doing their jobs. Next time you're working late, alone in a building, and something feels off, maybe it isn't something dangerous. Maybe it's just someone on the shift before yours, still clocking in, still finishing their work, still refusing to leave. Stay safe out there. And if you work nights, stay a little more alert than usual, especially between 2 and 4. You never know who else is on the clock.